home. So anyways, I am so glad you're here. My name is Valerie Bestland. I am a full-time flight paramedic, part-time life and weight loss coach, and I wanted to talk to you today about meal planning. Now, I love meal planning and I have been doing it for years, and I think that I've got some cool tips and tricks of things that I can teach you, and it really makes losing weight a lot easier when you have a really good system for planning. So, kind of want to talk about my family, by the way, is right on the other side of that door, and I have two teenage boys, and they're very loud. So, I sincerely apologize about that. I have a husband that is also talking very loudly. So, hopefully, you can't hear any of them. And I have a puppy, by the way, who likes to bark. So, okay, here we go. So we're going to talk about planning. We're going to talk about what the problem is about planning, what the obstacles, kind of what gets in our way, the solution. And then on the next page, I'm going to talk about the system that I have created for myself. So the problem is if we are not planning, we are using our primitive brain to make decisions. Now, I like to think about our primitive brain kind of like a toddler running around with a Sharpie marker. It can do a lot of damage and it's living right in the moment. We want to do our decision making with our prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of our brain, which is the part of our brain that makes decisions, can think about the future, can kind of weigh consequences, stuff like that. So when we are using our primitive brain to make decisions, especially when it comes to what we're going to eat, it doesn't make the greatest decisions ever. Okay? When we make those wrong decisions, what happens? Oh, we gain weight. Because if you're faced with two options, like, should I have a salad for lunch or should I have a hamburger and french fries? Your brain will quickly do some calculations, your primitive brain, and it will tell you, oh, you should for sure have the hamburger and french fries because it's going to make you feel so much better, right? So when we continually make that decision, we are going to gain weight, which is not what we want to do. One of the other problems when we don't plan our meals in advance, right, we get overwhelmed. I don't know how my friends or people, when you work Monday through Friday and you get home from work at like 5 and you haven't planned your meals, I don't know how people do that. The overwhelm and stress that you probably feel is outrageous. And that probably leads you to make poor decisions on what to eat, right? This is why people swing through the drive-through, stuff like that. And so because of my work schedule, my husband's work schedule, we've really been big on planning because we work until 7 p.m., right? And so most people usually eat their meals before 7 p.m. So it's been super important to us and raising our 3 kids that we eat before, bedtime. So if you are not planning, you are likely feeling a lot of stress and overwhelm because you just don't know what you're going to eat. And that really does lead to bad decisions. Again, that primitive brain, boy, it wants to make the decision that is going to feel the best in the moment. Okay, so then the obstacles that get in the way for our planning purposes is our brain, right? Our thoughts that we have about planning. This is what I hear from a lot of people that I work with. They say, well, I'm not a planner. I just don't know how to plan. It's not something I really do, and I'm just no good at it. And I think that is probably not the greatest thing to be thinking if you want to be somebody who plans. One of the other obstacles that I think a lot of people think that they have and that are legit, right, is information. Well, I don't have the right information. I don't really know what I should be eating or what I shouldn't be eating, right? Who here thinks that, right? And then the other obstacle that gets in our way are the tools. Everybody wants to know what the great tools are for planning. What do you use? Right? I may be missing something. I don't have the greatest sheet that I should be having. Right? And so we get caught up in this idea that I don't have the right tools. I don't really know what I should be planning. I don't know how to do it. I'm not a planner. And then guess what? When you think those thoughts, you probably feel um, uninterested, you feel a little apathetic. And let me tell you, those feelings don't drive the action of creating a plan. Here's the other thing, by the way, about when I hear, especially the clients that I work with that are in EMS, when they tell me that they're not planners, I'm like, really? You don't plan? Seems like our job and how we take care of patients is completely based on a plan. You might call it a protocol or a guideline, right? Or when we're on our way to a flight and we're talking with our other crew members, right? We're making a plan. Now, listen, I know that that seems like a weird association, but it really, you are a planner. And you can plan your meals just as easy as you can plan how you're going to take care of your patient. All right, so here's the solution. We need to focus on the solution. We need to stop thinking about the problem. Okay, we're going to solely focus on the solution starting right now. You have to have a better mindset. Instead of saying, I'm not a planner, you could say, I'm becoming a person who's a planner. I'm learning through this Facebook Live with Valerie how to be a planner. I'm a planner. You could easily think that, right? The other thing, oh my gosh, this one is huge. Constraint. Listen, there's so much information out there. I love Pinterest as much as the next person, but I knew I had a problem with Pinterest on my personal account when I had over 1 million pins. Probably most of them were recipes. There's 365 days in a year. I'm not going to be making 1 million meals. It seems like I do a lot of cooking, and I do, but not 1 million worth. Okay, we have to really constrain. And when you first start out your planning, I learned this from a couple different coaches. You need to really constrain. And I'm going to talk more about the system in just a minute here. But I call it food porn, right? It's like you get so addicted to looking at recipes and thinking about food all the time. Listen, if you're trying to lose weight, you got to take a break from that. That's not going to get us the results that we want. Okay, so we need to constrain. We need to limit our what's the word I'm looking for? Limit our exposure to things that like Pinterest or the cooking shows and stuff like that. We got to constrain for a little bit. Okay, and then the last thing is creating a good system, which I'm going to share with you my system. I kind of came up with this on my own over the years. Now, I have been a planner for most of my life. Okay, look, you can't see that very well. Oh my gosh. Sorry. So I've been a planner for most of my life. I love to organize. I see a couple of my friends on here. So you all know, right? My best friend, Kim, I see she's on here. Marge is on here. I have helped her daughter-in-law, Shelly, organize her Tupperware. I love to organize. My mom used to get mad at me because I would come home from college and I would take everything out of all the cupboards and I would rearrange them and reorganize them. People don't like that, actually, if they don't ask for it, I've discovered. So I created this system kind of over years of learning how to cook, learning the best ways to incorporate meal planning with my job and my husband's job, right? For those of you that don't know this, my husband, Drew, is also a flight paramedic, and we work at the same base, and we basically work opposite of each other. And so he, over the years, has had to learn how to cook meals, but because of the system that I have for planning and really involving my family with it, he's able to make meals that he feels comfortable making, and I'm not leaving him with some crazy new recipe that I saw on Pinterest. So here we go. I'm going to explain to you how I do this. So maybe get a piece of paper and a pen and write this down. And now remember, I have been at this for a while, so it's not going to be maybe super easy for you right in the beginning, but it's a way to just start thinking about ways to plan your food ahead of time. So the first thing you need is a folder. Now, I just took this folder from, I would have thought one of my boys, but as I opened it up, it was actually my daughter Natalie's folder. You know, at the end of the school year, you have all these extra supplies. So why not use a weird Star Wars folder. Okay, and then the next thing you need, let's see, what does it say on my thing there? Folder. Oh, the weekly menu sheets. So I found these at Hobby Lobby. See that? But listen, oh my God, I don't know how to use the camera function. So I got this at Hobby Lobby. You can get this on Amazon. You can get it anywhere. Actually, I think I have a link for it in my kit store. So if you go to www.kit.co/VBesland, I think it's VBesland, you can see my kit store, and I have links to those things. I'm not an affiliate for any of those people or anything. It's just a way for me to keep track of all the things that I like so that I can share it with other people. The next thing you need to do is collect all your recipes that are like family favorites, or print them off from Pinterest, or put them on a note card from like a cookbook. And so I've done that already. That's in my folder here. That's all of these things. These are all of our common recipes. And then this is where the genius is. Now, this is not my original idea. I don't remember. I think I got this from Katrina Ubel, possibly. So these big note cards. So you can buy these obviously anywhere. And this is where the constraint comes in. So I once had somebody tell me, like, pick 5 or 6 meals that you know that your family likes and just make those over and over again. Now, as adults, we think that we need to be making these like fancy, elaborate meals for our families to keep them happy. But now that I have these teenagers and a tween daughter, they're not interested in all the fancy food things that I watched on the Food Network or found on Pinterest. Okay. They're not interested in that. They like the basics. They like tacos. They like spaghetti, right? They like soup. They like sandwiches. They like some sort of egg or whatever, egg dish. They don't really like complicated food. And you know what? That's great for me, because then it's less time that I have to spend in the kitchen. So here's what I did with these note cards. So I've got about, 12 or 15. And so I just wrote on the top, right, pasta night. And then right here is just all the ways that I know that they like to eat pasta. So let me see, what does it say? Red sauce with ground beef, red sauce with sausage, red sauce with meatballs, even though they don't really love meatballs, vodka sauce. That's really good, by the way. Bolognese sauce, puttanesca sauce, pesto, Alfredo, garlic butter, and mamacello pasta, which is a Rachel Ray recipe, which is really good. Right? So I had that, and then I created one that says breakfast, and I wrote down all of the things that my family likes to eat for breakfast. Here's another one. I just did this one. So this is, what does it say? Oh, this is kids' lunches, things that they like to eat for lunch. And then these are things that I eat for lunch. It's mostly salads. And then I've got this card. This says soup night and grill night. These are things that we like to grill. These are all the soups that I know how to make, that I like to make, and that my family will eat. Right? Now, I could be on Pinterest every day looking at soup recipes, but I've decided I'm going to constrain, right? And I'm going to come up with however many are on this sheet, right? Okay. So then I've got chicken, beef, and pork. So these are all the chicken, beef, and pork recipes that my family likes. Got burger night. We love burger night. We have a meat market here in Altoona, which is just outside of the town that I live in. And it's called Rumps. And they make the most amazing pre-made beef patties, ground beef patties for hamburgers. Oh my gosh, we love them. I got Mexican night. My kids like mostly tacos, but I can get away with doing a shredded pork and making carnitas or something like that. And then this one's not very big. This is the seafood one. My kids really like shrimp and basically shrimp. Drew and I will eat mahi every once in a while, but other than that, not too much. And then this is kind of the last one. I just did this one just the other day. This is side dishes, which I still have more to add on there. And then Asian food. My family loves fried rice. They like beef broccoli, stuff like that. So you get these cards. You make your own categories, right? However you want to divide it up. And then you sit down with your family and you say, what are the things that you like to eat? My kids don't like lasagna. You want to know what is not on my pasta list? Lasagna, because they're not going to eat it. I don't even want to think about lasagna. Okay? So you sit down with everybody, you figure out the food that everybody likes. Now, if you're like me and you got a family of 5, there's always an outlier. There's always going to be one that doesn't want to eat what's for dinner. And that's okay. They don't have to eat it. They can go make themselves a sandwich. I have a pantry full of things that they can make if they would like, but I am not going to make that for them. That's on them. So here's how you do it. Now, this is hard to read. I'm sorry, I was running out of room. So first of all, to make your plan, you have to pick the day. Now, I'm not saying Sundays because those of us that work in EMS, right? We work weekends. I work every third weekend-ish. And so I don't like to say, I do all my planning on Sundays. That's the day you plan, because that's not always the reality, right? For a lot of my teacher friends, you guys are off on the weekends. You do plan on Saturdays or Sundays. But for those of us in EMS, I find if I can't plan on Sundays because I'm working, then I plan on Monday. So you plan the date and the time. And listen, in the beginning, this might take you a while. Plan like 2 hours for this. It's pretty quick now for me and our family, but gather your supplies. You get your folder, you get your recipe, you get your little note cards out, and then you get this sheet here, or you can just use a piece of paper, quite honestly. And then you put your meals on the sheet. Now here is another tip. This is what I do. This is our menu for this week. And as you can see, there's the letter V on some of them and the letter D, like right here. This is Drew and I's schedule. So I put this on here so that I know, oh, I'm on days, Drew's on nights, and that helps me determine what we're going to put on the meal, on the menu board for the week. And so I plan all of everybody's breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Now, this week it's a little different, right? Obviously, the kids are home from school, so we have to be making lunches. And we don't eat breakfast because I don't eat breakfast. I drink coffee for breakfast, but my children sleep until noon. So there's not a lot of breakfast going on. But if they were, I have it all ready to go, which is fun. So then you just sit down with your note cards, right? You have them all spread out. You sit down with your note cards and you look at your work schedule if you want to put that on there. And you're like, okay, what are we going to have to eat? And then you pull your recipes that you've decided as you pick from your note cards. You put it down on your weekly plan, right? You pull the recipes so that you have them so that it's not Tuesday and you need to try and find the recipe for whatever it is that you're making, right? You have it all together. And then your ingredient list. Now I use an app called AnyList, and Drew has it too. And it's a live app, I guess. I don't know how else to say that. But like if I put stuff on there, it shows up on his phone. And then when we're at the grocery store, when you tap that you've got it, it goes to the other person. So, pardon me, if he's shopping, I'm usually shopping, but sometimes he is. And if I add something, I know that he'll see it right away. So I like to make sure that I have my recipe out and I have my app open for the ingredients. And as I'm looking at the recipe, right, I'm typing in what I need for ingredients. Part of this also, by the way, is keeping a fairly well-stocked pantry with things that you normally use for ingredients. Like for me, we've got a lot of canned beans because I eat a lot of beans. We have a lot of tomato type products like tomato sauce, tomato paste, diced tomatoes for soups. Always have tons of pasta and rice in the pantry, a lot of baking supplies in there as needed. Okay, so then you make your ingredient list and then you post the weekly meal plan. Now I posted in the kitchen on a clothespin. It's like a fancy, cute one, that I got at Target. But I post this, and then behind it, I put all of the recipes so that I don't have to go searching for them, right? And then you go shopping, and then you prep all your food. And here's a couple things I'm going to say about prepping food. the best thing to do is to prep most of your food right when you get home from the grocery store. Now, I know you're not going to want to, but if you want to eat well the rest of the week, having prepped food already done is so important. So, one of the things that I prep every week is vegetables. So, I have glass trays that are, I don't know, they're like this big. And I put a variety of raw vegetables in there and set those out every day for dinner with some homemade dip. So every week I cut up broccoli, cauliflower, cucumbers. I buy baby carrots, but I prep all of that so that it's sitting in there so it's super easy for me to grab. One of the other tips about meal or prepping your food is to store your fruit in glass mason jars. This will keep your strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries all really fresh for a lot longer versus keeping them in the container that they come in or keeping them in a Ziploc bag, right? A Ziploc bag maybe, but they get squished and you don't want to wash them, right? You just want to store them right from the container from the grocery store and you put it in the jar. And then when you're about to eat them, then you wash them and then you eat them. And then this is the most important part right here, even though you can't see it. Here's what it says. Follow the meal plan no matter what. Because your brain might tell you that even though you have chicken noodle soup on the menu for tonight, you're not going to feel like eating it. But listen, this is what I tell my kids. You don't have to feel like it to eat it. You just eat it. It's what was planned. It's what we've decided that we're going to do, right? So you make the plan and then you follow the plan and anticipate not wanting to follow the plan. So that is all I have for you. If you have any questions, type them in the comments. If you watch the replay, go ahead and check that out. I created like a cheat sheet. Now anybody can use this. I created it with like paramedics and nurses in the pre-hospital environment in mind. It's like a food resource list. So a lot of us that work in EMS, right? If we're on the trucks, if we don't pack our lunch, we have to eat out. And sometimes we feel like, well, there's nothing good to eat out, which is kind of a lie that our brain tells ourselves. So I created this tool as a way for people to think about the fast food in their area or restaurants or the hospital cafeteria or a grocery store. With those in mind, like what could you eat so that you've decided ahead of time, right? So instead of going like, oh, well, we're going to go to Culver's, instead of getting a butter burger and French fries and a malt, I can go, oh, I'll have the salad with grilled chicken. That's a great option for me to have. So then I've decided ahead of time. So there's that. And then there is page 2 of this, I don't know, you can call it a worksheet or a freebie or a PDF or whatever, is like vegetables, protein, fat, fruit, and grains. And then you just write what you like. Now, here's the deal. Don't eat food that you don't like and the food doesn't like you back. So that might be a weird thing. You maybe have never heard anybody say that before, but it makes me think about, I used to think that I needed to eat oatmeal because the American Heart Association tells me oatmeal is good for me and it will help me lower my cholesterol. But what I found is when I would eat oatmeal, it didn't make me feel great. And in like an hour, I was hungry again. And I thought, that's so weird. It should really last me a lot longer. And so I decided that I'm not actually going to eat oatmeal anymore because it doesn't love my body back. So think about that. Don't be eating things that don't make you feel amazing. Okay? This seems so simple, but it's really something to think about. So you can grab that worksheet at my website, www.hemscoach.com/free-guide. That's all I have for you. I hope that you like it. If you catch the replay, make sure to say hello to me and grab that download if you'd like. And if you have any questions, I'm always available on social media at hemscoach.com. And I hope that you guys are staying safe and well and happy during this kind of uncertain time that we're in. But this is no time to just say to heck with all of it and gain weight. It's like, I kind of want to call it like Corona butt or Something like that. Like, we don't want to gain a bunch of weight right now because we know that this will pass, and we don't want to be in the next bigger flight suit. We don't want to order bigger duty pants, right? We want to be progressing towards losing weight. So, anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Say hi to me, and I will talk to you guys soon.